I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, so we're going to do it a little bit more 8-bit, a little bit more fun, keep it a little upbeat here. I'll take you guys through a little bit of the history of Tableau at Caterpillar, the adoption of the tool, kind of how it went. I won't get too boring with that because that's always boring. And then we'll get into a little bit how we use best practices, how we conquer Agile, not so much use Agile, which is a good distinction to make. As my new friends I met last night would say, Agile is not. So that's a good thing that we got to keep in mind. So if you're looking for a session on how we use Mingle or VSTS or whatever, you're going to be disappointed. That's not what we're going to talk about. My name is Brandon Klotz. I am on the visualization team at Caterpillar. I'm a visual analytics strategist. This is circa, I don't know, 1993 or 4, whenever Umbro pants were popular. That was then. So I'm going to tell you the history of how Tableau is adopted at Caterpillar from my perspective, not necessarily how because that's the more fun way. So that's what we're going to do. I started at Caterpillar 5 years ago in December on the web analytics team. So I was a web analytics strategist at the time. Now I'm a visual analytics strategist. And so at that point, I was building out Excel spreadsheets, exporting data from Google Analytics. I had a tool, we had a plugin called Next Analytics, maybe you've heard of it, that you click a button and it refreshes from the API. We thought we were the bee's knees. We had updating reporting Excel sheets that would you could just click a button and email out the new one, so we thought we were on the cutting edge. But then I got tapped on the shoulder and someone said, hey, have you seen this Tableau thing? And I hadn't, so what I did is I witnessed it firsthand. This was a trade show analysis dashboard, and now it's like 5 years old now, so it's probably not going to pop off the screen at you, but it was revolutionary at the time. Because what we had here is we had the layout of a trade show we were at, the actual layout of the floor. So we had different machines that were laid out all over the place. Each one of the people icons is actually an RFID reader on the floor. And what happened is every hour or so they would refresh this data and they would see where people were going during the course of this trade show, and they would actually physically move people around based on what was happening. So they made some assumptions at first, like 11, 12 o'clock, go to lunch, it's not really going to matter. But then we start getting the data in, oh no, 11, 12 o'clock, that's the main time for people to be on the floor. So we have to actually shift what times we're putting people in different places. And then the merchandise is throwing everything off. Everybody wants to go buy an awesome cat shirt. Go buy awesome cat shirts. So we saw this, and I'm sitting here with my Excel plugin thinking, I'm a dinosaur. There's nothing I can do. This is the new way. So what we did is I did what anybody would do. I commissioned that team to make me a dashboard. So I'll just have them do it. So I was working on our flagship parts site at the time, parts.cat.com. Go buy cat parts. And so I asked that team, I said, I need you to build me a live report that shows me all the sales that are going down. I want it to be at least nightly, and I want it to be ongoing so I can give this straight to our dealers and they can get access to it. And it turns out at the same time, I got tapped on the shoulder again, and someone said, hey, we need a web developer over in IA, information analytics. And so I was brought in. I was brought in because I have a very specific set of skills. Skills I've developed over a very long career. They're skills that make me a nightmare for data like Caterpillars. If you are data and you have insights, I will find you. And I will visualize you. It's going to happen. So I get brought into this team, and we start to build out these dashboards. And so my first encounter, guess what I have to do? I have to build my own report. It's the very first thing I have to do. They bring me in, they said, yeah, you have to build the parts.cat.com report. So after 3 months, I went home. It was December. I went home on the holiday break, and I watched every single Tableau training video that I could get my hands on. And plug for Tableau, incredible online training, best there is. Then sat down with a couple people, did some pair programming, built a couple dashboards with some guys that are in the room. and we learned how to do it kind of through that. And I got sent to one of the 3-day training courses they do up in Chicago. And so after 3 months, I had built a dealer-facing parts.cat.com dashboard that updates every single night with all of our parts sales. And so it was 3 months after finding out that this tool exists, it was launched and live to our dealers. And it was kind of a testament to the tool, but there was still some obstacles we had to get through, right? So IT hates Tableau at first. They always do. They consider it disruptive. It's a disruptive technology. This is not how they work. It polarizes their values. So like they understand what the purpose is. They understand that they don't have to do the work anymore. That you can publish things live. You can go crazy and do everything yourself. But you can go crazy and do everything yourself. That's not the way IT works. The way IT works, if anybody's familiar with this feeling, maybe you'll connect with this story a little bit. You've got a web application. You need to make a change to one of the filters on the page, and so you have to put in a change ticket. It takes a day, maybe 2 days, to get put into the system. Then it takes another day to get a developer assigned to it. Then the developer has to get it into their development queue. That's maybe a day or so to get it into that queue. If you're counting, we're 4 days into a filter change at this point. And so then it goes into QA testing, so they have to actually do their testing and make sure it works right. Then it has to go into UAT testing. They have to send it back to me and say, hey, did we do this right? And what happens if it's not right? Oh no. Now we have to go back through this process and put in another change ticket, and we're already a week and a half into the process, and that's just not going to fly. We can't do that. It's not fast enough. And so, and getting back to my point on Agile, putting things into a project management tool is also too slow, right? You got to go in and put in a card. You got to assign development hours. You got to estimate hours. You got to push it over into whatever swim lane you've got set up, and then you have to, and all this stuff to put a filter on a page that is literally one click in Tableau. So it's something that you're adding 4 or 5 days of work for something that you could do instantaneously. And so eventually it started to take part. The actual transition to Tableau actually started to happen. This is the first time ever at Caterpillar that a business-driven BI tool was adopted. So the actual business said, I'm going to buy this tool, we're going to implement it, we're going to own it, we're going to run it, and we're going to have our own developers that do it. It's the very first time that's ever happened. And so it was pretty huge for us. We started to see people adopting it. We started rolling out license. We fired up what we call data visualization days, which were really cool half-day sessions where we'd talk about just interesting visualizations we found, really cool ways to visualize things, just kind of some take a look at things in the industry, the tough DFU stuff, just look at all that kind of stuff. We set up our visualization user community. We have connections over at Caterpillar, and we had a bunch of them. We actually had a Tableau one and a data visualization one, had different uses, and we started to see some cool stuff. We started to see people actually uploading their dashboards saying, hey, I have a question, and then we started seeing people actually downloading those dashboards, answering the questions and uploading them, and these are people that don't have time. These are people that are working on projects, right? These are people all around the enterprise, and they're just doing it because it's fun and they know how to do it. And so it started to kind of build itself up, and everybody started to adopt this tool. And it was really cool to see happening. We created this boot camp program too, which was another half-day thing, but this was a training session. So it was 15 to 20 people every month. That's how fast it was. We were rolling it out. We had 15 to 20 licenses we were distributing every month, and we would sit them down in a room for 4 hours-ish, and they would actually set up and create their own dashboard. So they would connect to their own data, and within 4 hours, they would install Tableau, have a license, connect to their own data, and build their own dashboards. So within 4 hours, they went from nothing to having insights that they can take action on in their business units. So they can actually go out and start to immediately go for it. But then the questions started. I don't know if these are going to seem familiar to any of you guys. How should I visualize this data? What color should I use? Does it have to be cat yellow and black? What are the approved fonts and layouts? How many, this is a good one that I get all the time. How many charts should I put on a dashboard? What's the best amount to put on a dashboard? And what are they asking you for here? They're confused. They've got paralysis from options. They've got so much they can do that they don't do anything. And so they're waiting to hear you say, this is what you need to do. And what they're actually asking for is best practices, right? Well, that's fine, but what they actually wanted you to say, I don't know if any of you guys know what this is. Raise your hand. If you don't know, it's the Konami code. It was popularized by Contra, one of the best games ever created. Yeah. At the starting screen, you type in this code. You get 30 lives instead of 3, and you can just completely dominate that game. And it's incredible. So when they come up to you, they say, hey, what fonts and layouts should I use? They want you to say, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA, start. And then they run off with their code, and they can beat the game. But that's not how it works either, right? Because what you get here is a problem. So if I'm sitting here, and I'm trying to beat this game by myself, I've got 3 lives. I can't do that. I'm sitting here and I'm trying to figure out how to beat Contra. If I type in that cheat code, I'm going to easily beat that game. I've got 30 lives, which makes you pretty much unstoppable. But if you run through that game with the cheat code on, have you done anything that nobody's ever done before? Have you innovated? Have you done anything cool? Have you done anything anybody else couldn't do? You've done nothing. You've put in a bunch of keyboard time, essentially. Controller time, if you will. And so you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, I can't do this by myself, so I need to use this cheat. Or there's another option. You can get yourself a team. Right? So you bring in your teammates. My brother is 2.5 years older than I am, and he at the time was a little bit smarter than me, debatable. And so he had evolved his game playing abilities. I was a berserker. I would fire up Contra and I'd just run at the bad guys, just blasting off as many shots as I could at those bad guys. He would actually hang back, and when we were playing together, it was a noticeable difference. He would hang back and he'd get all the traps. He would all the automated guns that are shooting at you from all over the screen. I'm going way into Contra. You guys better know Contra. And so, yeah, he would get the spread gun. No woos for the spread gun? You guys. So he would get that and he would hang back, right? And so we have these differing styles, and all of a sudden we're still getting beat. We're getting beat a lot. I'll be berserking through the levels, and he'll be hanging back. A guy will come from behind and get us, and we'll both lose, and we have to start over. Game over. So we got to try again. But that's not so bad. We're just sitting there playing a video game together. So what's happening though is we're actually developing best practices. We have established a team with varying skill sets. So me and him, we have different styles. I go crazy. I berserk straight into it. He sits back and he picks off the guys, and he takes care of the traps, and we learn every time we get beat. Every time we get beat, we know, hey, that guy's going to come from the back next time. You need to turn around and get him real quick. And the way we can do that is because we're co-located, we're connected, we're sitting right next to each other. We can say, hey dude, next time that dude's gonna come and try and get you, you need to turn around and shoot him. And if he doesn't, I can punch him in the arm. and if I lose, he can punch me, he's gonna punch me anyway, let's be fair. But it's super important because we can communicate right there instantly, we're right next to each other. So we can actually start to beat this game. We're getting multiple viewpoints. We're absorbing as much as we can. We're thinking to each other, we're like, okay, we need to actually strategize here if we're going to beat this game. The first boss, the skeleton, you got to shoot his arms first, and then when he starts flashing, you got to get him, right? I heard one guy. I owe you a beer. We're exploring, right? So we're actually getting this, we're doing this right. We're actually building a team, and we were drawing from external inspiration. Nintendo Power Magazine, anybody heard of that? Oh, yeah. Yep, that's where we got our inspiration. So our external inspiration, we don't know how to beat that level, That tells us you gotta shoot his arms first, and then he'll start flashing, and then you can get him. That's just how you do it. So it's not necessarily a best practice. It's just like, well, here's a little tip, here's a little trick. We drew from external inspiration. We got a couple different ideas. We had a time limit. We knew we got to be in bed at 9 o'clock. It's a problem. We're talking a Nintendo game too, so you can't just save. You either got to leave it on and hope the power doesn't go out, or you got to beat the game, or you got to beat the game by bedtime. So we actually are time boxed. So we have pressure. We know this is going to happen. We have to sit there and we have to do this. And so if you give the person the cheat code, right? They come up to your desk and they ask you, what's the best practices? And you say up, down, left, right, BA start, and they run off celebrating, and they go beat that game. They destroy the game, right? They typed in the cheat code. But then they put in the next game. They put in Final Fantasy. Okay, thank you. It was pity. Come on. You put in Final Fantasy, and you turn it on. Probably got to click it a couple times, blow out the cartridge, turn it on again. But then they get to the menu screen. They've got their cheat code. They're smiling ear to ear. The menu comes up. They type it in. Up, down, left, right, BA start. What happens? Nothing happens. It's a totally different game. You can't use the same cheat code on a different game. You can't use the same best practices on a different question. You answered the one question. You have a new set of best practices for the next question. And if you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're going to keep answering the same question over and over, and you're just spinning your wheels. And so what we learned is we had team rapport. We knew we could work with each other. We knew that sitting next to each other, we could do this because we've done it before. We beat Contra. We were strategic. We actually had ideas. I'd go crazy. He'd get the spread gun. And then he'd hang back, and he'd shoot the baddies, right? We had the ability to beat the next game. That's crucial. Didn't know how to laser, did you? Yeah, I got a laser. So you got the ability to beat that next game, because we know we can beat the game. We've done it before. So if you've got your team, you've got your strategic thinking, you've got your best practices, you guys are co-located together. You guys are sitting right next to each other. You've got differing skill sets. Maybe on your team you've got an artist. Maybe you've got a developer. Maybe you've got a project manager. These are all crucial parts. And if you're talking Agile, maybe you've got a Scrum Master, the guy that deals with the paperwork. That's the guy that, no hate on Scrum Masters in the room, but I hate you. There's no... You better not raise your hands. So what happens is, I'm going to relate this back to what we've done at Caterpillar. You remember that parts report I mentioned? There it is. That's the report that I built, and you're thinking that's an ugly report. I hope you're thinking that.
Oh yeah.
Because what's going on here? The very first thing you see is a date slider. That's not good. Like, this is the very first report. You know why I built a funnel? Because everybody else had funnels. That's what I'd seen. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to build a funnel. That's the way to visualize sales, right? That's the best practice. And it worked. It was updating nightly. It showed the sales. We could launch it to dealers. They could see what was going on. But we needed to implement our best practices. So we drew from external inspiration. We brought in a consultant. And they spiced it up a little bit for us. This is what it turned into. They gave us some good ideas. So they said, you should probably put KPIs right at the top of the page. You should probably organize your filters a little bit better. Maybe throw in some cat yellow. Cat yellow is good. Very good. But this report, it's a much nicer report to look at. And so this was our external inspirations that we drew on, right? So we actually started to build this out, and we started to add more team members. Add team members, be co-located. So we brought in an artist. And our artist, we build this dashboard. We've got our main KPIs right at the top. We've got some organized filters. We've got supporting data as you go down. Got a cool color scheme now. Got a really cool color scheme, got a nice banner, got nice little icons that show you what kind of machines that we're actually showing, gives you that immediate context. This is one step better, right? This is a way better dashboard. But it's still not using everything we could do. If we have more team members, if we had more ideas, we could do even cooler stuff. And so we add in a web developer. Super good looking dude. She was very nice. The artist on our team was very, very nice to me when she created that slender, nice cartoon character. And so what we've got here is we've got our KPIs right across the top. We've got supporting information as we go down. We've got cool color schemes. We've got graphics. We've got nice little icons. But now, all of a sudden, we've got no filters, because what happened to the filters? The web developer slid those things off to the side. Get rid of those things. That takes up precious real estate. So took the filters, threw them off to the side using the JavaScript API, plugged the JavaScript API. If you've never used it, go to a session. It'll change your world. And this thing is wrapped in an HTML5 web page. So you can actually switch between dashboards, you can search for dashboards, you can adjust time frames, and this is the next step, right? This is awesome. But it's still kind of just the Wild West out there. We're just an artist and a web developer. So you've got to bring in another team member. You've got to bring in a Scrum Master. So we bring one in. And they give us the ability to create things that we've never done before. So we're actually time boxed. We have somebody's controlling our craziness, and we're building these super cool infographics. And we're doing some really fun stuff. And then we're like, well, that's fine. That's a super cool looking thing. None of that's Tableau though. That's just a web page. So we're like, all right, when you put that back into Tableau, and we can bring in more team members. More is merrier, right? You want more and more people. So we bring in this crazy dude's got 3 PhDs. Seriously, dude's got 3 PhDs in statistics. And so we bring him in, and all of a sudden we've got a dashboard with our KPIs at the top, a cool color scheme, cool graphics. It's in an HTML5 web wrapper. We've got filters slid off to the side. We're time boxed. We can actually have time to make this. Someone is controlling how we're doing things. And then we've actually brought in a guy who's come up with 3 different statistical models to predict sales. And so now we've got this outrageous dashboard. It's predicting sales, and we're throwing it onto a web page. We're filtering across multiple data sources before that was a thing. Check out the JavaScript API. It'll unlock your world, like I said. And you can start to build these outrageous dashboards. And so this is how Caterpillar deals with Agile, is that we don't really do it. I mean, we don't do Agile, we conquer Agile, right? That's the idea. And so it's more about, you need to get your team together. Our best practice is get yourself a team and get all those viewpoints in and sit next to your team. Actually be located next to them. If you've got to rent out a conference room or something for 3 weeks, do it. Sit in the room with all 5 people, and instead of putting in a change ticket, just make the change. Just add the filter to the dashboard. If you got a question on the stats, look over at the stats guy. Say, hey, this looks bogus. What are you doing? And he'll say something that I don't understand, and then give me new data, and then everything's better. You're artist. You got her sitting there. You've got this crazy idea. I want to add crystal balls to my dashboard. And she's like, yeah, I can make a crystal ball. Yeah, give me 10 minutes. And she hits up Photoshop and knocks out a crystal ball real quick. So you need to get your external inspiration. You need to get your team together. You need to get everything in line. That's how Caterpillar conquers Agile. Thank you. I'm up here to ask questions. If you have questions, if you want to ask questions, let me know. I don't know if I have anybody that can help me with the question situation. Nope. You're just going to have to yell. What's going on? Yeah.
So you mentioned getting your team together.
Yeah.
In RFP against
Mm-hmm.
visualizations out. You also mentioned ranking this up 15 to 30 people a month.
Yep.
Or do you have a number of different teams within business units, or do you have one person kind of doing a bunch of what is out there? How do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, so we would distribute the licenses. So it would actually be, we would give them, I think we distributed 200 or 250 or 300 licenses within the year. And we would let people go, and it might have been more. I'm getting a signal here. It's 600 licenses. So I cut it in half there. So no, we would let people go crazy, but we would have the environment that was controlled. So we would control the access levels. We set up a syncing with our internal sign-on that would let us have them control the user groups, and then we would actually give them the ability to publish their own dashboards because they know better what their questions are than we do, right? Yeah. That's the dream, right? And there is a lot where you'll see people not using licenses, or you'll hear somebody's publishing 160 dashboards with Python. You're like, what's going on? What are you doing? That's never going to be the best practice. What are you talking about? And so you start to get that stuff, and you can kind of squash that by talking to them. Man, hey, here's some training. And we did follow-up training, and our data visualization days were ongoing. Tableau user community, all that stuff. Yep, for sure.
Two-part question. So, am I right to think that you're responsible for some of these main visualizations?
Mhm.
You're also running like a center of excellence to support
Yes.
others in the company, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So, okay, just within your space though, how do you manage like SDLC and just source control and just that rhythm?
It's really difficult, right? Because you're talking data sources all over the place, trying to get people access to those data sources.
Just publishing stuff up and did you check that copy out? Is it like, do you have that open or does somebody else have it open? Or
There's a little bit of that. Again, it's more to letting the business run their own dashboards, right? We want them to.
I just mean your stuff.
Oh,
Forget
our
about the
stuff.
rest of the business.
Yeah.
Just the stuff you're responsible for.
Yeah. No, we've got a data team. I'm spoiled. We've got an actual data team of guys that take care of most of the data governance, all the cleaning of the data, storing the data, permissions, making sure it's all correct. So we're a little bit spoiled on that end from the visualization side, but
the visualizations themselves,
Mhm.
right? Like, I mean, you pull that down off the server maybe,
yep.
and now you've got it on your desktop, and you might leave for the night. Now somebody else might download that and start editing it and publish it up to the
Mhm.
server, and now like you've got an out of sync situation. So Tableau doesn't really do a great job of
Right.
managing that, and I'm wondering if
Yeah,
you use
props to
it.
version control. But no, yeah, that's a problem you have to worry about. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll sign an owner of a dashboard, and we'll say this guy's the owner of the dashboard. If you want to publish, you got to go through that guy. Kind of a harder way to do it, but that's the best way to make sure that only one person can publish that specific dashboard. Yep.
How do you manage in a non-agile fashion between your kind of separate data teams that you just mentioned? You get new data source for the product. How's that dynamic?
It's going to sound like a cop-out, but I get them into the room. I know. I literally do that. I say, hey, dude, we need you in the room for 4 hours, and we need to sit down, and you're going to actually write the SaaS job or whatever it is in the room with us. And if we have any questions on it, you're going to revise it, and we're going to have it in whatever tables we have today. We're going to put it into Oracle. We're going to put it into something. And so we would actually sit them down and bring them in. Again, we're spoiled. We have a data team. Maybe if you don't have that luxury, it'd be a little harder. Yeah.
So you got the best practices here, and I used to work for one of those cat dealers. So how do you
200,000 worldwide. Strong.
best practices? How do you sell that to dealers? And the particular dealer I work for was like, tell Tableau that we're not going to take it. And so you've got this great tool, and trying to
Prove the value, right? So proving the value, we'll give them access to the reports we build if they're dealer facing. In a lot of instances, we have actually rolled out Tableau to dealers. So they'll actually set up their own servers, and they'll start rolling out their reports to their customers. So we'll feed the dealers reports, and they'll feed their customers reports through their own training process. And we'll do some training for the dealers too. We'll actually bring them in. Not everybody wants to adopt Tableau, but once they see the value, they kind of really can't stop. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, what's up?
Do you have an organization, maybe it's your organization, that actually takes control of quality control along with different
Yeah, so there's not like the quality control processes we have a team, we do viz reviews a lot. We will say, hey, if you built a visualization, you want to know what we think of it, and you don't have a team, you don't have a you don't have an artist and a developer and a scrum master and a data team, you can come to us and we'll actually review that, and we'll tell you, hey, we think you might try to do this. You're loading all your data into a giant table right on the page. That's your problem. That's why it's slow. Any sort of things like that, we'll take care of those as kind of like a center of excellence. Somebody mentioned a center of excellence. We kind of set that up and we communicate that out, even through our user communities. People can submit a dashboard and we'll go in there and we'll say, yeah, here's X, Y, Z things maybe you want to work on. And then ultimately it's up to them to choose to implement them or not. And they can even, it might help to do like an internal service agency too, like to where you can actually build dashboards for them if they want. That's also something we do very often. Yeah, what's up?
My question was around feedback for those
Mhm.
end users or consumers. You showed us a lot of different implementations.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. But how are you using it? Like, what are some statistics you use? And how do you connect with that?
Yeah, so the statistics inside a Tableau server, you guys might know, are not the greatest. Anything you're using like the JavaScript API on, you can throw Google Analytics on the page, you can throw something like that on there. Web trends, I'll be tool agnostic. So tracking that stuff is really important too, because a lot of times you'll build a really nice visualization and it'll go flat. You'll see the little spark line when you hover over it. There's one user in the last 3 months, and at that point you have to determine what went wrong. Was it communication? Is the data wrong? Did the data break? Is it just a terrible looking dashboard that happens? People don't like it, they don't want to log in. That happens a lot. And so what you have to do is we do regular auditing. So we actually go through and we control our server environment. And we go through and we'll look at every single report and make sure people are using them. We'll do auditing on the licenses that we distributed too. If we see that people are not using the licenses, we'll say, hey, give it back, somebody else wants to use it. They're very expensive. No knock on Tableau. Yeah, what's up?
Do you guys do much of building hierarchy for your organization to keep things streamlined from like executive level views down through the dealer?
Yeah, there's a big difference between building a dashboard for a CFO versus building a dashboard for a guy working a parts desk at a dealership, right? So they have a totally different level of what they want to see. And the way we handle that is through training in our visualization days. We'll say, if you want to build a high-level dashboard, I think there was a cool session earlier even that's the CEO's most powerful tool, or something like that. That's kind of the thing, is that you want to teach them, say, if you're going to build a dashboard for a CEO or for some higher level VP of some kind, you're going to want to take it a couple steps up. You're going to want to have main level. You're going to want the KPI boxes. You're going to want metrics. Excellent plug for the keynote this morning. Very cool stuff, even though they're upending all of our business processes in such an awesome way. But yeah, and then when you get down to like the dealer level, like a guy working a parts desk, you're going to want to make sure it's got that granular level of detail. It just depends on what their audience is, and if they come to you and ask you for help. Hopefully they do. Hopefully they gain the external inspiration from your team. Maybe you can be the consultant. Cool. You have something?
Can you talk about your data scientist team member? Like, how do they plug into the process? They're using a tool set before Tableau?
Yes, we do a lot of data cleaning. So we've got, like I was saying, 200,000 people work in the dealer network, 120,000 people worldwide. 26 times the people that are at Tableau conference indirectly work for Caterpillar, so it's crazy, right? So that we've got so many different tools. We'll use SAS or R or any sort of processing tool to actually create the clean tables, hopefully in the future Maestro, another plug. And then we will actually pre-process those, put them into a clean table, maybe Oracle usually for us, and then we build them from there. So yes, again, are kind of spoiled having a data team that will give us nice, pretty tables that plug into Tableau really nice. And over time, they get used to it. So it's not right away either. So if you've got a data team It takes some training to get them to think on how they're going to structure the tables so that Tableau can read them. Because the way that they build the tables initially might not be the right way. You might have a column for every single year in the database. And you're like, I want one column per year. And I want you to kind of transpose that data. And you got to sort of train them to think that way too. But we do a lot of pre-processing of our data, yes, definitely. They live with us, yeah. IA, we've got our own data team internally. We actually sit right down the row from them, and we go and tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, job's not done yet, guys. It's a good way to do it, co-located. Yeah, what's up?
Did you ever beat Contra?
I did beat Contra, totally. Come on, beat Contra a bunch of times. Yeah, with and without the cheat code, come on. Yeah. Is there a Contra 2?
Super Contra.
Oh no, you guys just ruined the rest of my weekend. You guys just ruined the rest of my week. All right, that's cool. All right, thank you. Appreciate it.